Good morning, it's Brian. It is the Art of Startup War. You are back for another podcast. You come to this podcast for two reasons. The first reason is because you are massively interested in startup life and you love getting into the mind of an early stage startup and go into the craziness of why they start this impossible business to try and take it from an idea in their mind all the way through to one of the biggest billion-dollar companies the world has ever seen. You want to go through that journey with them and see them at each different part of the journey, because each part of it brings different pieces of wonderfulness and different pieces of just horrible trudging through the deepest mud that you can ever imagine going through. So you like to watch that journey so we can understand what makes the Elon Musks, the Richard Bransons, the Mark Cubans of this world tick the way they do. The second reason, and probably the more important reason that you listen to this podcast, is because you are or want to be a early stage startup investor. Why do you want to be an early stage startup investor? Because you understand that the market has changed. In the olden days, and I mean going back 20, 30 years ago, when companies like Microsoft went public, they went public at valuations of $50 million. Today, they jump up and down between $1 trillion and a little bit below that, right? So you've got an upside from 50 million to a couple of 100 billion, stroke a trillion. Good money to be made in the public markets. Today, companies like Coinbase, other companies out there as well, Airbnb maybe, they're going public in the tens of billions of dollars, closer to the hundreds of billions of dollars, which means the upside in the public markets, i.e., when it goes to the public, when that company becomes an IPO, that it is much smaller. So where's all the money to be made? Yes, my friends, it is in the private market, the early stage market, which is exactly where we live. That is why you are here, because you want to find the companies that are going through tremendous growth to take them to that billion-dollar valuation. And you want to learn as much as you can from my interaction with the companies so that you can make a good investment decision. Now, we at Expert Dojo are not promoters. We only do one thing here. We invest in companies. And when we invest in them, that means that we believe that they can go to where they're going to go to. Now, that does not mean that we're telling you it's going to get there, but it's a pretty damn good indication if we're putting our money in there. Okay, so moving on, I have a fantastic company for you today. GreenSat, when I first saw GreenSat, I had a conversation with one of my colleagues, and he talked about the growth that was happening within the company. And I honestly couldn't believe it. And I don't normally get to growth until the second part of the podcast, but I just want to put a little bit of a tease out there. Normally speaking, as an investor, I'm looking for a company that's going to hit maybe 300% growth in the first year from like a 10, 20, 30% start, 10, 20, $30,000 a month start. And then I'm looking for maybe a 300% growth in the second year. And then I'm looking for 200% and 200%. What you're going to see with GreenSat is that they're blowing this out of the water. I mean, out of the water. And their growth projections for next year, for this year, and for next year are exactly the same as their growth actuals were for 2021. So it's going to be a great podcast. We're going to talk to Deepak. We're going to look deep into the company. We're going to find out why he started, how he started. We're going to go through the challenges that he had in the company. And then we're going to finish up in a place where hopefully, as investors, you can see what the future probability is of growth within the company. Deepak, that was a long ass intro, but there's a lot to say about what you're doing.
Yes. Good morning, Brian. And thanks a lot for such a beautiful introduction.
Good morning to you, my friend. I am so proud of what you continue to achieve every single day, and so pleased that we had the opportunity to invest in you. Can you please share with everybody with the genesis of the idea for GreenSat? Like, how did this come about? And talk us through a little bit about those early days as you were beginning to develop it and the environment that you had around you, both with team members and growth and turning the idea into a reality.
Yes. So it's a beautiful story, Brian. When I was a kid, I was always on the farms because my father and his father were both by profession in that time were the farmers. We had a beautiful small land. We used to grow there. And I always used to be such a happy kid compared to all other kids in my school, because I had stories from the farm to be told, that how we used to grow fresh vegetables, fresh wheat, fresh grains, and people used to envy me that, our parents go and buy stuff and you guys get it from your farm. You're so lucky. And I always used to be thinking that, how lucky I am. Then suddenly one day we had a huge storm. The whole thing went down, the crops went down. And that's where my father realized that as he's doing his engineering, it is now needed in the country like India, where the data connectivity was very low. There was no techniques of proper farming, scientific farming. And he, being an engineer, thought it's better to move on to the corporate career and leave the farms right now. Then, unfortunately, my grandfather passed away, and we all moved to the bigger city. Father went to the job. We all did schooling. I went and became an investment banker myself by profession. But always that farming was in my mind, in my heart. I always wanted to go back to the farms. And during my investment banking career, I used to do a lot of rural lending also. So, being an ex farmer, I always knew what the problem, what the challenges were. And being a banker gave me a total insight about what's going on. And then one day, after 18 years of my investment banking career, I decided that it's time to give up and go back to the farms and do something for me, for the farmers. We had 150 million farmers in this country, and agri-tech wave had just started. People are thinking about what to do. And I went down and I thought, ki, before opening an agri-tech company, I need to know everything about this. Growing, cutting, harvesting, everything I knew, but only thing which was missing was trade. And then I started my small company, a proprietorship company, where I started exporting to European markets, Canadian markets, to Asian markets. And after 1.5 years, I made some good profits. And I decided, the farmers were coming back to me for various challenges. How do I get a loan online? How do I get to see my crops growing in a better way? I thought now we should put our heads down and do something for these people. And that was the time when the lockdown started. We decided that this is the time when data penetration will be higher, because the entire world, including Indian farmers, were moving towards using of more and more technology. That propelled the growth, and we started GreenSat. GreenSat was born, and we started with a small thing of satellite imagery. On the initial days, we had to convince the farmers that how satellite imagery is going to help them produce more, grow more, sell more, and at least have something for the kids education, for their lifestyles, and how it can help them without going to any money lender or any consultants, paying more money. And they started believing us.
But this is
It was
pretty
a
challenge. This is pretty challenging though, because
yes.
you're convincing people how satellite imagery is going to help their farm provide them with a better standard of living when they don't understand what satellite imagery is.
Yes.
It's very difficult. So first of all, talk us through, how did you build it? Was it expensive to build it at the beginning? Did you have to bring in a team? Who did you bring in around you? How did you make that work? So actually, I have a three-part question. First part, how the heck did you build it? Talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges there. Second part, how did you know that it worked? You know that it worked, because theory is wonderful, practice is a killer. And the third point is, how the heck do you convince very rural farmers who do not even understand much beyond the internet, because it's not their world, how satellite imagery is going to help them with something as tangible as taking a turnip or some wheat out of the ground?
Absolutely correct. uh, During the lockdown, when we were building this idea, I was talking to my son, who is just 15 years old, and I told him, son, whatever satellite images I see, I personally don't understand anything about it. How do I make this as a tool to explain the farmers to grow it more? He said that I'll connect you to a company called Planet. It's a technology company which has its own satellites. I said, why only Planet? We'll connect to all major satellite companies. Let's see what they can offer to us. They all offered us a lot of solutions in terms of images, in terms of technical words, jargons which were used. We took all the dumpings down and we thought that, how do we make it as a report or something as a tool which Indian farmer can understand.
Mm,
And then my entire team uh, used to come one at a time on the day, because there were restrictions for moving around. So we one day the technology guy will come, one the GIS specialist will come. We all were co-founders, so we used to love this discussion, and then we decided that yes, there is a AI based tool which can be developed, which can make this and break down the entire images into analytical part, which will be simple and easy to understand in a local language to the farmer. And we will back it up with an agronomist call, so that initial days the farmer will get a better hold of it. Because I will tell you a funny story. When we sent out the first report, 10 farmers called me and told me, sir, I can only see colors in this report. Something is green, something is red. I don't make anything of this report. Then I told you, can you go down to the second page and see what is written in your local language? And then he read the whole thing and he said, he still I couldn't figure out what it was. It's just it's just saying that some part of my field is water starved and some part is having missing the fertilizer. uh, I don't know which part is that. We said, we have marked it on your map, on the crop map. He said, no, I couldn't get it. So we knew there was a missing thing, and we
yeah.
made an agronomist call. An agronomist spoke to him in his local language, and that created wonder. And he was like, oh, I get it now. Oh, I'll go to the field right away. He went to the field right away. Oh, here? Then he clicked the picture, sent it to the agronomist. See, this is what I found. We said, exactly. That's what the satellite is saying. This is something which is going wrong. Correct this right now. You'll get more productivity. And
Wow.
that started working. We did it with 10 farmers. Those 10 farmers explained it to 100 farmers in their villages. See this company, just see their reports, how they are giving. And after 3 months, they started calling like hell. They said, "Ki, we are getting 20 to 30% more yield, sir. We never thought we'll be able to do this." And
Wow.
we said, this is the way to do the farming. Now, as in India, earlier the system was with joint families. The land holdings were quite big. Now it is the time for nuclear families. The land holdings are getting divided into smaller and smaller land. So the productivity and yield is most important,
Hmm.
and the quality is the best thing which gets through satellite imaging, because it predicts what's going wrong, which you can correct it at the initial days, and the quality and the yield will get you the killer price in this world. Because today's world, you're seeing commodities driving the entire world.
The
there
world.
is there
The
is
world.
shortage, yes.
It's, by the way, yeah, thank you for this. I think the world is finally coming back to its senses. I think for so many years, we have not worried about the fact that our food resources is not adequate for the human resources that we have on this planet. And we're worried about so many other superficial, silly things which have no benefit to anything. And for the very first time, a focus has come back to the basic foodstuffs, where it's coming from, how good it is, what the quality is like, what the chain of custody looks like. And that all begins where you start, which is where the food comes from. Like as it leaves the ground, how do we make sure? So I love that you did this. And how did you know as you were developing it and building it? First of all, how difficult was it to build it? And why do you think other people hadn't done this before? And then I want to start moving towards the percentage of accuracy that you believe that you've hit.
Yes. When we were building this, it was a lockdown time completely. We had actually no resources to do it. What we were doing in our houses on our laptops. There was a team which was so-called tech team, which had literally one person on board who was from the technical background, and the other one was my son who had the passion to develop.
Yeah.
So we said, "Ki, till the time lockdown opens, you both are my CTOs. Let's develop it." So one engineer and one 10th grade student, they
Yeah.
both started developing the app. And I was surprised that within 15 days, the initial form of the app was ready.
Yeah.
And by that time, the satellite companies started giving us the dump of the data. We started developing an AI for that. We hired a firm, which was also through Zoom calls. We never met them. We trusted them. We gave them the first contract of this company to build the AI for this satellite imagery reports. They did it. We tested it, and it was done. But then we realized that it is done. How do we sell it? Who do we find to give it? When the farmers started taking it, and they said, oh, satellite imagery, this we can't, because we are just 10th grade or 12th grade pass. You're thinking we are rocket science PhD holders that will understand all this. And then we connected them to the agronomist, and they decided, yes, this is going to help us a lot.
Mm.
This is no rocket science, this is for us. And then we started this. The other companies, why they are not doing it, I will just say that there are a lot of companies which are doing, wanting to do it, but they think that they are making more money in buying and selling, which is true, which is not, no, which is not wrong. But buying and selling will one day end, which is what is happening now, because there is a shortage. The prices are absurd, because we are not growing how much we wanted to sell, or how
Mm.
much we wanted to produce for this humanity. So most important is how much you produce.
How much that we can get out there and how much we can get working. And I think that is unbelievably important. And you've hit it right at the absolute source. So then you said, okay, I've got this. I love the fact that you involve your boy. I love the fact that you bring him with you and you're traveling around and when you're seeing investors and things, that relationship is important because your relationship with your boy is the same as the farmer's relationship with their land. If you don't nurture every single part of it, then what happens is you have an inefficient and a poorly produced product at the end of it. So I love you went there. So talk us through a little bit about how the team started to develop around you from that moment. And then also talk a little bit about how you started to get the farmers and how they were interacting and as you grew that as well.
Yeah. So, when we started first, we thought we will do a farmer school. So there we were. We hired a SUV. We all co-founders, founders sat there. It was like 300 kilometers from Mumbai in a rural area. We knew 2 days we'll not be able to come back. We took all our camping stuff and we went to the exciting journey. When we went there, we were not welcomed at all, because they thought somebody has come to the village and they will sell us something which we don't want. So there was no place to stay. First thing, nobody, no hotel, no place to stay. Then we went to the school, where so we asked the principal that, in the evening school is locked. Can we rent it out to just sleep in the evening? We'll make sure everything is clean. And he was like, are you in your senses? You want to sleep in the school? Then he got a little supportive to us, and they said, "Ki, see, being a principal, I know what you're doing. You're bringing a
Nice.
change.
Yeah.
So you do one thing. I will give you my house, which is, I'm staying, and next door is my brother's house, who's not there right now. You
Mhm.
guys can sleep there." And my co-founders were looking me like I have become a zombie. They said, "Ki, this is what you promised us. That this is what we'll get." I said,
This is the
welcome to the
dream.
I said, this is your dream, and this is welcome to the farming world.
Yeah.
So we went there, we spent the night, and next day we were figuring out that how do we get these farmers together to come and listen to us. So then we told them that, every farmer who comes in will give you a t-shirt, which will be a very good t-shirt. We started printing the t-shirt photo on the pamphlet, and we started distributing in the village market, going to every shop and distributing it, that please give it to the farmers. It was all circulated, and we started waiting from the 6 o'clock in the evening that people are going to come. Everything was ready, projector, everything was ready. And it was 6:30, none of them came. My
Oh.
my co-founder started boiling. Boss, this is not the business we should be in. I said, this is the business. See how they'll come, they'll take some time. They are testing our patience. They're looking us from various places. And 7 o'clock, they started coming in. 5 people came in, 10 people came in, and they
Wow.
all started exploring the projector. Rather than listening to us, they were thinking, what projector is this? They're going to show us a movie here. They're going to tell us what. 50, 100 people came in,
Wow.
and the power cut happened.
Oh
Everything went
no.
into the dark, and we were like, my God, this is what the destiny has got us. So we had somehow a Wi-Fi, sorry, a speaker which was with operated with batteries. So that saved our life. We connected a mic and we started announcing. Everything was pitch dark. We couldn't see the farmers. Farmers couldn't see us, but that saved us a lot because we were not nervous at all. They couldn't see us. So we started discussing about the crop they're growing, how better they can do.
And what did you say to them? So in 30 seconds, everybody listening to this podcast are farmers in that rural area.
Yes,
What are you telling us? Like, we don't understand a massive amount about technology, but we
yes.
understand that we have farms that we want to get more from it. What was your message?
I first question I asked them that last year, how many of you lost your grapes crop? They were grape farmers.
Ah,
I very well knew that the weather was very challenging the previous year and the years to that, and they must have lost their crops because they had no weather alerts from
mm,
satellite image. And suddenly the whole thing changed. They all said, "Sir, I lost my crop. I lost my crop. I'm in debt because of that. Government didn't support us. This didn't happen. That didn't happen." They opened up totally.
mm,
And that's where I came in. I said, what if I give you a 15-day weather alert,
wow.
which will give you a precise 91% accuracy that what's going to happen in next 15 days.
And then
And
they can protect, because that's the
they,
problem, right? The problem is
yes,
they're reacting to what's happened as opposed to preventing through prediction.
correct. And they said, Ki, can is that possible? I have this kind of a phone with me. Will it come in this? And I told my co-founder Krishna, jump on, download the application on his phone and tell him how it will work. He
Mm.
did that, and suddenly the power came and the projector started. We showed them the entire presentation, how the application will look, how they will be alerted, how they can apply for the loan, how they can sell their products, how they can get an insurance, and they were zapped. They said
Because the
this,
loan is an important part. Like, you've slipped the loan in there and the insurance in there kind of quietly underneath the value
yes,
proposition. But in reality, the loans and the cash flow management is the entire ecosystem here. Like, we could be fooled into thinking that this is about growing food and then selling food and growing food and selling food, but it doesn't work on its own like that. It works in the middle of a cash flow cycle whereby you need to take extra money in so you can plant the right stocks. You then need to make sure that you're covered if maybe the crops don't make it. So if you do not have the borrowing life
yes,
cycle in place, you will fail as a farmer. So really what you're trying to solve is you're trying not so much, even though the effect is that they will have better crops, better production, and better profits, you're trying to manage the cash flow life cycle of their farming lives in a better way than they're managing it now, in a less scary way.
yes. And what next I did was I told them that if you are growing grapes, you must be doing through iron poles which are there in the fields to hang those trees of grapes. And they said yes, sir. And I said, Ki, how much do you spend on that? Do banks fund that? And they started, some of them started crying. Sir, I spent so much on that, and banks didn't support me at all. They didn't give me
Wow.
any loan for that. Where do I go? I borrowed from a money lender and he's charging me 30% interest for that.
Oh God.
I said, are you crazy? We are talking this only. Once you have the satellite imagery, you need the finance also on time. Because what will you do with the report when you don't have proper finance to put in inputs, proper techniques into your field? And that's where we got them to the loan part. That this is how the loan will work online. You don't have to go to the bank. Bank is not coming to you. It's just on the click of a button. Your documents are digital. Banks will decide digitally, loan you digitally, and the interest rate will be one single digit. And they were like, sir, you have God to us, this, that. I said, see, I'm like a magician for you now. I'll open the third box, which is buying and selling. If you take a loan, if you grow more, you should get the better rate. What rates are you getting now from the agents? He said, sir, 120 rupees a kg is the market rate of the grapes. We get 40 rupees only from the agent. And I was like, what? 40 is not even your cost. How are you going to survive? They said, this is how we live. We grow with so much of hard work, and the agents come in, they buy it at 40 and sell it at 120 in the market. The entire profit is theirs.
Mm.
We said, that's where we'll stop this. We'll give you a single digit loan. We'll tell you how to grow more. And the most important, how to sell it at a very good price.
Wow.
And we will make sure that your kids get educated well, your life standards increase, and we will sell your product at the best price. And that's where they said, Ki, sir, this everything is fine. And I was waiting for the fourth box they will open themselves. And they said, what if everything fails and weather takes a toll on us and the entire thing goes wiped off? I said, that's the box I wanted you to open, and you opened it for me. That's insurance. I will give you a satellite based insurance.
Wow.
If the satellite says that that day the rains were this, wind speed was that, and your crops have gone bad, automatic claim payments will come to your account. You don't have to prove anything or go to any insurance office and start begging. It's your right. They will pay you as per the satellite imagery reports directly into your accounts. And that changed the story for GreenSat. That was the day, and we never looked back. And
Amazing. So
we went
really,
from
I even go further than this then. In that case, what I said at the beginning was you're not really providing a life cycle solution for the product for whatever they're growing. You're providing a life cycle solution for their cash flow, but really you're providing a life cycle solution for their peace of mind, because that's the scariest thing about being a farmer, right? Is that it's not that you don't know what's going to happen and that it worries you. It's that you do know what's going to happen. You just don't know when it's going to happen. And it terrifies you. So you were bringing in an entire peace of mind technology that allows them to be able to manage the entire life cycle and go home to their families and say, we can grow food, we can sell food, we can get better prices for selling the food, we can have better quality food that we can actually get for more as well and make better margins on those prices. We can have better borrowing institutional relationships, which means that we're actually making more money yet again. And we're predicting the challenges of the future, which means that we don't get destroyed every time life and nature decide that they don't like us.
yes.
Fantastic. And really, it's been a whirlwind since then. I mean, I'm trying to, normally in the podcast I want to take you through this hero's life cycle where we can look at the really terrible, difficult, awful things that happened at the beginning, and then you overcome those things by managing to win out in the end. But I don't feel that you really had many. I mean, I don't say you didn't have challenges, right? Because you had to build a highly complicated software to be able to actually read the satellite images. And then you had to build an extremely logistical, reliant process to make sure that you can provide the solutions to them. But were there moments that you wondered if you were going to be able to make this?
Yes, because when everything was up and running, one fine day, we discovered through bank that, whatever cases you're bringing to us, the credit scores are very low for these farmers. And we were taken aback. We said, oh, hold on, we never thought about this.
Mm,
Because farmers in real challenging situations default on loans or pay at a delayed interest or a EMI. So
right.
this makes their credit score down. So for 2 months after the launch, we were like stunned. We said, what do we do? There's no permanent solution to this. Then one fine day, my co-founder came to me and said, sir, there are a lot of farmers whose loans have been waived off by the government. Government has paid from their own pockets to the banks to make this farmer not commit suicide. But that is not reflecting in his credit score because credit bureau has branded him as a defaulter. But on the other hand, the government has paid for the farmer to these banks. These banks have not reported to the credit bureau that they got their money from the government.
Right. That's not good. Yeah.
That's where we found the disconnect. We went to these banks, requested, that something you're doing is wrong. This is changing the entire ecosystem for the farmers. They are getting into a debt trap. Your one email to the credit bureau saying that this particular farmer loan has been paid off will get him to a higher credit scores, a single digit interest, and this is going to change everything for him.
Mm,
And that started happening. Now the banks realized, yes, this is for our community benefit only. Because if this loan has been paid off and this guy is eligible, our business is going to grow. We are going to lend him again. This is our new customer for us again. And that changed everything. And now we are picking up very fast in fintech. So this has become from agri-tech to agri-fintech now.
fantastic. And then so as we get towards the end, I want to get a definition of what your vision is for farming in the future. When you look back at GreenSat and you say, what have we accomplished over 10 years? And you look a little bit into the future on that. I want to get to that moment. And I also want to get to talk about the revenue increase and where you are with the company and how you project that going forward and the amount of money that we're raising right now. We're going to dig into that. And before we do, your team is very tight. Can you talk about now? You talked about like how you built the team, how you got started, how you came from your investment banking background. You built it all up. Talk to us a little bit about what the team looks like today and how you see that growing going forward.
Yes. So on the team, we have a very tightly knit team from various backgrounds. We have two people from agronomist background. They are PhDs in agriculture. They have like 15 years of work experience down on the farms with the farmers. We have technology guys because techies in today's world, we believe, and my belief is young techies are much better than the mature techies because these rookies have such ideas and they crack it in minutes. We don't have to wait for days. So we have one techie who is a fresh engineer, but all his life he has made such instruments which even his college is envying that this guy has made this for us, but he has put his name because that he has made it, and he holds 3 4 patents in his name for technology. He is a young 22-year-old from the technology background. We have a lady from a marketing background. She has like 20 years of work experience creating brands. So she is helping us creating brands. I am from the finance background. Krishna is from finance and strategy background. So we have a full team, full on team. We have one guy who has done 15 years in operations, managing logistics, managing sales, so he's looking after that. So we six people are a tight team together, looking after their own areas of expertise, and we work it as a unit. We know that end of the day where we want to reach, and end of the year where we want to reach. And every day we sit together and we are making it possible that we will reach there.
Incredible. And so talk to me about that revenue growth since you started. You since that day you walked into that farm, you offered to sleep in the schoolhouse, you spoke to those hundreds of people, those people in the room cried because they needed what you were bringing so much. Talk to us about that first revenue you brought in and how that has grown since that period, and then how it's going to grow going forward.
Yes. So, the first year of 2020, we actually had only 2 months of revenue, which was hardly $10,000 for the 2 months. And we were jumping with that revenue. Oh my God, what we have created, $10,000. Because, being an investment banker, creating $10,000, oh my God. And then we realized that, boss, what we are doing, we have so much of potential. We are happy with 10,000. That's not it. And then entire year we slogged and we had 2000% growth
Yeah,
and we crossed
unbelievable.
$1 million in revenue.
God bless you. That's incredible. I just want to pause there for a moment. Like for folks who have been in startup, you know how hard this is. For folks outside startup, it's hard to imagine how you grow from $10,000, which is literally $5,000 a month, to get to the following year when you're looking at an insane growth trajectory like this. And this is not because they raised like hundreds of millions of dollars, as it would be in the US. They had raised a small amount of money that allowed them to be able to build, but it was themselves. It was the need for the market and the product fit that they had in place. That's why everybody wanted this. And so talk a little bit about those unit economics, like how much of that was for you and how much of that got passed off to other third-party providers. And then were you seeing that trajectory on a continuous level and just increasing, 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 or did it plateau off?
When we raised our first money, the first check from Expert Dojo,
Mm-hmm.
we were already $900,000 in revenue. So,
Incredible, right?
till that time, the journey was so tough because every day me and Krishna used to think, where will we get the money to go to that goalpost which we have decided? And
Yeah.
Krishna used to laugh, boss, I don't have money for putting fuel in my car. You're asking me how do we reach there? And I used to tell Krishna, boss, I need to pay my credit card bill also. I don't know how do we survive. And he was like, leave it, boss. We are not defaulters. We'll pay it. We'll see somehow. And we
Yeah.
used to go on work, go to the farms, talk to the farmers.
Yeah.
And next day we used to have some revenue. And it was like, oh God, next week is sorted. Now we'll have something. This is the way we continued. And we reached 1 million now. And this year we are targeting 5 million.
God bless you.
And I told my co-founders, are you guys insane? 1 million to 5 million? Are you there with me? And they said, of course, we are thinking this is the most conservative number we have ever put in. 5 millions will get you in 6 months. And I was like, boss, being a founder, I need to back them up. I can't shy away with this. And I said, okay, done. I'll take this challenge. 5 million will do it for sure.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
and you will not believe this last 2 months have passed, we are already 400,000.
Oh,
And we were like, what is happening? We are doing something right and we need to keep doing it more. And that's where we started, decided, 5 million, we'll achieve it. And there's no thing which we can't achieve right now. But only thing which we had was we had a vision of making a farmer go from poverty to prosperity. We know his journey is tough. So we want to take him from poverty to empowerment first and then to
mm,
prosperity. So the empowerment work is going on right now to give him more tools, give him more decision making power, enable him how to take a quick decision on commodity pricing, how to grow more. What is important for him is to grow and do farming, not doing getting into banking, getting into insurance. We will help you with that. We are there as experts to tell you how do you do that. And that's where the empowerment word has come. An entire team believes next 2 years is getting them from poverty to empowerment. Prosperity will automatically happen with this. And that's what is happening. We don't have to worry about these farmers because they call us and tell, we have made money, sir. We have made money. And we were looking at each other. Prosperity word has come in automatically. That's how we will take them to prosperity.
incredible. And then I'm guessing I'm not terribly inaccurate when I look at 2020, $10,000 in revenue, 2021, $1 million in revenue, 2022, 5 million in revenue, and 2023, 10 million plus in revenue.
Yes, 25 million. That's what we're targeting.
Get out of here. So look, okay. So look, investors, it's good, right? This is great. Investors, this is what you want to hear. You want to hear about a strongly scaling business that's doing really great. And then I want to talk a little bit about the money that's being raised, and then I want to get this back forward vision so that I'm actually, before I say it, let me just throw something out as an investor. I love the fact that we get to invest in companies and I get to see the greatest ideas of the world move forward with phenomenal entrepreneurs. I love it because I feel it's like the pure emotion of what we're made of. Maybe the essence of what we're here for is to create something bigger and better than ourselves. But what I really love, it's almost like a Brucey bonus when it happens, is when I see something which has got such tremendous impact on the people who are the most important people in the world, and that's farmers. Like, it's always been farmers. Everything we've ever done to take people away from the land has made them sadder. Like, that's just the reality. The land is everything. And when our food comes from the land, then it's left pure and it hasn't been messed with by bad people who just put preservatives and crap and all kinds of stuff in it. Like, our food is pure and beautiful. When our people are on the farms and they're working on the farms and they're supplying for everybody else, the 7 billion people in the world, it's beautiful. Like, that's where everything begins. So the fact that you have and are having such an unbelievable impact in the most neglected, unthought of, unhelped, and most needed part of every single person's existence, I think is such a beautiful thing. And I know it makes you feel great every single night before you go to bed. But honestly, as an investor, it makes me feel fantastic too, especially when I can see the incredible growth on the front end. And I want to add in another little piece here and then let you add on to it. And then we get to your vision. So, as an investor, if you were to say to me from the outside, Brian, what are the things that really make you invest in a company and know it's the right company? I could say it's the team, and I could say it's the execution, and I could say it's the CEO, and I could say it's the trajectory of the growth, and I could say all these things. But if you think about institutional investment in fast scaling startups in its rawest sense, the only objective of the company, really, a measurement of its success, is the amount of money it raises and at the valuation that it raises at. So here's the real deal. I want to invest at the end of a round. Because if I have smart people who are coming in at a round and they're putting money into it, I know that a lot of the things that I might have missed will already have been caught. Now, we don't get to do that in Expert Dojo because we're leading. But for all you smart investors out there who want to go for the safer investments, if you find that there's a lot of other people investing in the round, then generally speaking, there's a better chance that the folks you're investing in is a smart investment decision. And Deepak and GreenSat is absolutely no different. They are on fire right now. You have, I don't know if you can speak about the investors, probably not, which is okay. But you have two institutional investors. We have one major angel group and a major institutional investors who are coming in. You've a round open at what, 1.5, of which I believe 1.1 is hard closed or just about to close, term sheets out, everything signed, everything in place. And there's at least another $300,000 to $400,000, which is soft circled. Am I right? Wrong? What's the deal?
Yes, absolutely. You're bang on. That's the true picture.
Isn't that great? Okay, so look, you heard it here. You can get more information afterwards, but you have incredibly strong financially, and I haven't said this, but the other thing which is great to have in an entrepreneur, you don't often see it, is you want them to be fiscally responsible and knowledgeable, right? So if you come from an investment banking background, you know how the money game works. We're in the money game. We're solving problems of the land, but we're in the money game and they're doing great on it. Round is almost closing. It's pretty much all subscribed in one way or another, and you can get in for a couple of $100,000 if you move in and you get in really fast on it. Company scaling and doing great as well. So talk to us about the vision. Now, first of all, let everybody have your email, please, so everybody can contact you and they can make sure that they can reach out to you very easily. And then second, I want you to step forward 10 years in the future, and I want you to look back at what GreenSat has created in the world. And I want you to speak about it as if you're in the middle of an interview with a top interviewer and you're talking about this incredible company you've built and this amazing impact on the world.
Yes. So firstly, my email ID is Deepak, DEEPAK .YADAV @greensat.in. That's my email ID.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding the vision, if I see 10 years down the lane, what will I try to create in GreenSat? I want to come to a stage where, the farmers, the buyers, the entire world is integrated the way other businesses are integrated. Like there are manufacturers in China who are specifically manufacturing for companies in US. There are manufacturers in India who are manufacturing for companies in Europe. We want to be a food hub of the world where we produce what the world needs. There is a lot of gap in what we need and what is getting produced. Today, there is a 40% wastage of food in across the world, across the globe.
Wow.
And there are so many poor people who are going to sleep without any food every day. There is a mismatch. Farmers in many countries are producing something which is not required, or which is not going to help them or the entire world, or is going to reduce the soil fertility. Where they can produce this particular crop for 3 or 4 years, then the entire soil fertility will be ruined. So we don't want this to happen. We want to transform the world where I dream farmers are producing something what the growing population needs, a more nutritious food, a more safer food without pesticides, with proper techniques. No farmer commits suicide. No buyer is getting at a price which he doesn't want to buy it at. Nobody sleeps without any food. And this is has to be combined with the most precious thing, which is water. Water is such a depleting natural asset which is going down day by day. India is today 83% water starved. Africa, as everybody knows, last year there was a big city in Africa which was having dry taps and no water for even drinking. This is going to be in many parts of the world in coming 10 years. We need to increase the groundwater. How do we do that? When we do with farming with fresh water, we waste a lot of fresh water. That's where we want to turn them to recycled water. We are already working with so many farmers in India as a pilot, where we are giving them sewage treated water for farming, which is fit for farming, certified by various laboratories, which is totally fit for farming. And they have turned their barren lands into lush green fields. With the water, they have stopped using groundwater. Groundwater table has increased by 20% in last 7 months, 8 months. And this is where we will change the world. We don't want to waste the water and give our next generations nothing. We want to give them safer food with safer water, and we want nobody to sleep hungry, and we want nobody to commit suicide because he produced something for the world which world doesn't want.
I love that. I love that. Manage the world's food production so that 7 billion people can sleep peacefully at night in the knowledge that there will always be abundance. That's pretty awesome. Listen, it is wonderful. I am so happy that we invested in you. You and I have had many little trips together now from San Francisco to down here. We're going to keep staying there right beside you. We're going to keep letting our investor friends know the great things that you're doing in the company. You keep on with your phenomenal mission. This round will close out very soon, of course. Keep building this incredible growth and bring that incredible vision to the world that it so desperately needs.
Thank you.